Hello and welcome to the Purely Flowing podcast. I'm Adele. I'm founder of Pure Flow State, and we specialize in sustainable brand strategy for impact driven businesses. Now, the name Pure Flow State comes from the concept of flow state, which was coined by an Hungarian American psychologist named Michael Csikszentmihalyi to describe an activity that you're doing, that you're so engrossed in. Time slips away and you enter into a timeless bliss, and you could do whatever it is you're doing forever. And we work with brands to help them achieve that, working from the inside out so that they can connect with the people who need them and where they can make the most impact. So these sessions are about talking to business owners and friends about being in and out of flow. And the aim is to share stories to inspire people and hopefully pique their interest and let people talk about their journey with flow and how it's affected them. So this week, my guest is life coach and breathwork teacher Sam Adams. And I have experienced Sam's breathwork sessions myself, and the word that I can use to describe them is transformational. They're absolutely fantastic. I came away actually in a timeless bliss after we did the session. So highly recommend them. We're going to dig into this a little bit today so that we can share the impact of this kind of breath work and what it's meant to Sam on her journey. So Sam, how are you flowing this week?
I'm flowing very well. Oh, it's been a tired week, but yeah, I'm flowing. I'm
That's
flowing
good to
well.
hear. That's good to hear. So have you had any experience with flow state? What's your understanding of what flow state is?
I mean, for me, flow state is more, alignment. When I always say smooth, slow is smooth. We're often trying to go fast and push against the tide, it feels like. But for me, flow state is about smoothness and it's about alignment. And there's less friction around. Sorry, my little dog's here. There's less friction around and resistance to what we're doing. So it just has that smoothness and that alignment. And, when I bring that back to breath work, it's about body, mind, and spirit. And those sort of three areas, they all speak to each other. And when they are aligned, you're generally in a bit more of a flow state. Things are easier, things are smoother. And when things are like that, obviously, time passes much more easily. There's less resistance to lots of things in life. So that's a bit of a long-winded answer, I guess, and hopefully
No,
I
no,
get
it's
what it means to me, really.
yeah, I appreciate what you say about it being about not just like one area. And you spoke about three areas there, and I know you discussed this on a post this last week about the personal side of things and then the business side of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
And I know that from personal experience that I'm okay with investing in the business because that's all right. It's
yeah,
investing in the business, but investing in you is sometimes the last thing that you do, or are prepared to do or feel guilty around doing.
yeah.
Is that something that you've experienced with the people that you work with?
Massively, which is
Yeah.
probably why about the post that I shared on LinkedIn this week around that. And there is this resistance to investing, and we have to see it not as a cost but as an investment. We're
Exactly.
quite happily invest in skills and new machinery or
Mm.
products or for the business. New accountants, new accounting tools, do you know what I mean? New tools, new furniture,
Courses,
new
multiple courses.
yeah, there's just so many
Yeah.
things that we're like, okay, we'll invest in that. But the
Mm.
one thing that we should be investing is humans, is ourselves.
Mm.
As I always say, it starts with you, and you are your greatest investment because you're your greatest asset and your longest commitment.
Yeah.
How you flow internally affects how things flow externally. Your output is all to do with what's going on within. So yes, I see it a lot. I think it's changing, um, but probably not changing fast enough. And you've got to think we've got years and generations of conditioning around,
Mm,
you know, putting your kids first, putting your partner first, putting your family first. Like, don't get me wrong, like my kids and my partner and my family are super important, but they're not as important as me,
yeah,
because I want to give my best to my kids and my family. I can only do that if I invest in me, being
yeah,
the best version of me and showing up for me and being calm of mind and body and spirit.
yeah,
Then they get the best of me.
yeah,
And it's the same at work. You take your whole self to work. Work is personal. You know,
yeah.
it's not a robot version of you turning up and crossing the office, through the office door. It's you, it's the whole self. And I think the corporate world and the working world, and I do a bit in sports as well, slowly is waking up to that we have to invest in the whole self. We have to take responsibility for that ourselves, but corporations and sporting organizations, they have to recognize you're dealing with a whole person.
Hmm.
Their investment in self is, business is personal. At the end of the day, it's personal. There's
Yeah, it absolutely is.
So yes, I see it a lot. I'm on a mission to sort of get it out there. I know, like for me personally, I run my own business like you do, Adele, and
Yeah,
if you're good personally, and I don't mean just about your relationships, but your relationship with yourself and the work that you're doing for your growth and your expansion and your peace of mind, when you're feeling better within yourself, your work will naturally flow better. All other aspects of
yeah.
your life work much better.
I think it goes beyond that even. I would go as far to say as if I'm not aligned or I'm not feeling good within myself,
Mm.
then that is an energy that I'm putting out there, and that affects any kind of like potential and new relationships that I might have
Yeah.
in the work environment. So it's, people sense it. I mean, it's not tangible, but there
Mm.
is a sense around someone who, who's not quite feeling their best. And
Yeah,
you know
energy is, huge important. Hugely
mm,
important. Like energy, everything is energy.
yeah,
Your breath is energy, everything is energy. And whether, even if we don't say anything, we emit a frequency.
yeah,
So, we don't always have to say anything. Yes, body language plays a part, but we give off this energy, and sometimes you don't have to say anything. It's just, we just feel that, you can walk into a room and you can just feel the energy, right?
yes,
If it's good
yeah,
or bad, or it's tense or whatever.
yeah,
And it's this frequency that we're constantly emitting, but the
mm,
frequency is within. And that's where the work has to be done, because even if you think you're masking and you're hiding, trust me, people will be picking up on it.
oh, absolutely. And also we think, okay, well, I'm gonna forget about that, and I'm just gonna bury myself in work, because
Yeah.
we are, especially as entrepreneurs, we're very close to the work that we've done,
Mhm.
because it's work that we choose to do, because
Yeah.
it's like our baby. It's like,
Yeah.
something we're really passionate about, and we want to share it with the world, and we have all these gifts that we want to share.
Mm.
And we just bury ourselves in that and think, okay, I'm going to keep pushing because,
Mm.
the business needs it. And, I really want to make this happen, and I want to make
Mm.
this work. But we don't understand always, or we don't recognize always, that if we don't come from a place of well-being, and inner calm, and, inner peace, then we can't do that other stuff. It does start with you, like you say. It really, really does. It took me a long time to realize that. A long
I think, it wasn't because I've ever been, that I was perfect at this. The reason I kind of came up with It Starts With You, and really realizing it for myself, was because I was just doing a really poor job,
Mm,
and I realized I had to take responsibility for that. Um, which is why I kind of preach like I preach, I suppose. And I've reached burnout before, not giving it enough attention. Um, and I, even, more recently, I was really pushing with my business. Um, and I just had to take a step back, and it's because I'd neglected certain areas of me personally, and you just can't do that. I know sometimes we talk about balance, and, balance for me isn't 50-50. There's it's a balancing act, that we can't completely let one area completely slip and expect all our other areas to function really well. You've still got to have a little bit of everything. Um, but it is creating that balance and not neglecting, your priority is yourself. Like,
yeah.
I always, probably in the last decade I've led with that, like, and I don't feel selfish about it. I don't feel on, you know, I'm not unapologetic about it, because, you know, I want to be the best version of me for my family, for my friends. But for me, I want to feel good, and peace of mind
Yeah.
really helps me flow much better in my business. Like I say, with my kids, with my personal relationships. You know, relationships are the absolute backbone of humanity, right?
Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, if you've got a really poor relationship with yourself, generally that frequency, that energy is being emitting out, whether you're a leader or, you know, with your personal relationships with your kids,
Mm.
it impacts all of your relationships.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, I think we can all, you know, I can think of instances where I've been short with my kids, especially, you know, I
Yeah,
use my
absolutely.
with my kids, you know, and they instantly recognize it. They're like, oh, she hasn't had a coffee yet, or oh, what's up with her? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, they call you out on these things,
yeah,
and that's when you kind of like, okay. I mean, the beauty of that would be to be able to just catch yourself in that before it gets to the point where somebody's kind of like staring at you like going, hey, what?
yeah, yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about, you say for the last 10 years you've recognized that you started to put yourself first. What kind of impact has that had on you, and what did that look like?
Um, well, my mental health was, you know, it was, you know, has been my main priority, having peace of mind. And I used to think that was all a little bit woo woo, you know, oh, I want to have inner peace and inner calm.
Yes,
But
yeah.
actually, ultimately, that's what we all really want. Because without it, when you're overwhelmed, overthinking, you know, you have this incredible hijacker in your brain, you know, self doubt, and imposter in your brain, giving you a whole bunch of chatter that you can't override.
Mm.
You know, that's incredibly paralyzing. And so I can't, it's not like there was a specific light switch moment or light
Yeah.
bulb moment. It's just been a gradual thing for me. And I worked incredibly hard, and I still do, but I do it very differently now. I prioritize things in a different order. All of that personal work, that self-care work, was secondary to my business work, because I used to be in property and I worked incredibly hard in my property
Mm.
business. But the self-care and putting myself first was always secondary. And it, you know, it just became really, you know, my peace of mind was shot to pieces, really.
Mm.
um, and I knew that I had to, you know, do something different. And you know, I just started reading different things. I became aware of what I was taking on through my ears, through my mouth, through my eyes. You know, I stopped watching negative. I don't watch the news. um,
Mm.
I'm aware of it, of course, but I don't
Yeah.
watch the news anymore. Those little things. I've journaled for ever and a day, and one of the biggest things I noticed around this time for my journaling, in which I bring a lot of journaling and writing into my work, is because when you write, we think a lot. Everyone's like, oh, let me think my way through this problem. Write it down, because
Yeah.
writing down slows down your thinking.
Mm.
Second thing I always say about journaling is you must journal honestly. Because what I noticed about myself is that I'd done a lot of journaling, but it wasn't necessarily that productive because it wasn't honest.
Mm.
It was like I was writing an agenda, and I was writing as if someone was going to read it. And so I
Mm.
wasn't being completely truthful with myself, because the easiest person to lie to is yourself.
This is true.
It's so true, right? We can
Yeah.
negotiate our way out of something, you know, and pretend that, yeah, that's real and that's how it
Stuff
is.
that we don't want to be true. It's, you
Yeah,
know, we can feel ourselves slipping into a space or a persona that
yeah.
is something that we don't want to be. But and it's hard to recognize that. I get
It
that.
is, absolutely. And, you know, so I worked really hard around my journaling and being writing around, writing down what I was really truly thinking, what was really truly bothering me, like, rather than this superficial crap that I was writing down. And so, you know, I really challenged myself along that. And then, you know, creating self-awareness through reflection. So really using my journaling much more effectively on on a Sunday night, reflecting on my week and how I'd shown up, my behavior. Um, that really all helped me around my self awareness. And I had this thing, and I still use it a little bit. It's called the Mojo Triangle. So that the Mojo is, for me, it's like your internal magic. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a magic spell. That's if you looked it up in the dictionary, and that's where you are mentally, physically, and emotionally. That's the three prongs of the triangle. You could add in spiritually as well. But at that time, when I first started it, I just checked in with myself in those three areas. And the highest form of self care is to check in on those areas, ask yourself what you need. And the highest form of self care is to give it to yourself. So
Mm.
if you notice physically you're tired, then you find a way to rest. Like obviously that's not always possible. We might have a busy working day,
Yeah.
but like yesterday, I took 20 minutes. I had a little nap on the sofa here because I was physically tired.
Yeah.
And that became part of my it's something that I still do regularly,
Yeah.
but it started around that time, checking in with myself, listening to myself, and giving myself what I needed rather than I'll do that later. Oh, I need to sort the kids out or
Yes.
whatever. It's
Putting yourself last again.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're literally last on the list.
Yeah.
And then obviously in the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I found breathwork, which is a whole nother level of awareness and self-care and
Yes.
amazingness.
I know it is. But just before we get into the breath work, I just want to go back to the journaling, because this is something that I've kind of got on my list to
Okay.
do. Must do journaling,
Yeah.
because I know the benefits. People speak a lot about it, and I love writing. I've
Yeah.
always been a writer.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. But I will confess, and I've tried the artist's way. I've tried the
Okay.
artist's way at least twice.
Yeah.
Never been consistent with it.
Okay.
And the size of my notebooks was getting smaller as I went through, because it's three sheets of stream of consciousness.
Yeah,
And
yeah, got it.
so, like, first of all, I started with like an A4 size booklet. This has taken me hours. I haven't got time to do this. So then they went down to like A5 pads,
Yeah.
which seemed a little bit more manageable. But I would like to know, around journaling, what would you do with those journals? Like, it's okay to like vomit all this stuff out, put it down on a piece of paper, but that doesn't make you better in
No,
itself.
no, it doesn't. Well, maybe actually in some ways it does, because I think when you journal, you slow down your thinking.
Yeah.
Writing is energy. I would, if you can do any form of journaling, great, because some people voice note journal, some people type it. But if you can use a proper notepad and pen, that is energy in itself, creating that friction on the paper. But when we write, we slow down our thinking. I deal with a lot of high performers. They got lots going on in their heads. They got, a lot on their plate. It slows down the thinking. So even if you didn't do anything with that, it will slow down your thought process, which will help give you a little bit further clarity. But the power really is in the reflection. So it's journaling, trying to have a stream of consciousness. Yeah, that's great, but I understand we can't write pages and pages. But just writing honestly. So one of my clients, a director of quite a big company, didn't journal. And we've been working together most of this year. And I've got them journaling, but she didn't just dive into it and was able to journal every day. It's probably been about 4 or 5 months. Now she's starting to write consistently, but it was like, oh, I did a couple of lines. Oh, I did. And I would just say, you just start, even if it's bullet points, even if it's one word that you get to at the end of the day, you've had a shit day and you just write crap day, or you write bullet points, highlight points of your day. With this director, one of the things she wrote in it was her shopping list. She likes to write shopping lists. So we just got creative with it to get her in the habit of doing it. And they've recently gone for a really challenging time at work. And the journal has been like a game changer, because it's just a habit that we've built on with no specific strategy at the beginning, other than to just get consistently putting something in there and to help slow down the thinking. Because like even with the shopping list, she'd go to bed at night and think, oh, I've got to get this, this and this. And I'm like, write it in the journal. Slows it down, gets it out of your head. So then the power is then at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, like I used to always do mine on Sunday night, is to reflect back. So this is why you must be honest, because then what you do is, if you don't reflect back, you won't see any patterns. But when we reflect back regularly, you start to see patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of narrative. Um, and then, so you become much more self-aware that, journaling isn't just writing down your thoughts, it's an observation tool. So you start to observe yourself by reflecting, seeing how you're showing up, seeing how you behaved in certain situations, seeing what things triggered you and upset
Mm.
you. And then, so journaling honestly, but also reflecting honestly and noticing what you're seeing and
Yeah.
being honest with yourself about that. It's a hugely undervalued tool, which I used to think was a bit woo, but it's so powerful. It's like your own personal coach. If you're
Yeah.
willing to be honest how you write, and you're willing to be honest about how you reflect, you'll start to see where you need to make changes. You'll start to see what you're really good at, where your strengths are. So it's a really powerful observation tool of self. But most importantly, and all personal development starts with self-awareness, it's a self-awareness tool.
Mm.
You'll start to become aware of the patterns. So awareness of how you react to your boss on certain situations, how you react to your partner. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you suddenly have this awareness of like, oh, actually, every time I do this, I behave in this way. And then you can go a layer deeper with that and start to question yourself and think, well, actually, what's that about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And I think also, and something perhaps quite relevant to me would be like the environments that you're putting yourself in. So just
Yeah.
if I journaled like on the days, because I seem to be in a lot of different environments
Mm.
at the moment, and kind of journaling around being in certain spaces at the end of that day, or
Yeah.
even kind of at the beginning of the day, how do I feel about going into that
Yeah.
space? And
That's
and then so after, so you do like, you journal through the week. On a Sunday you kind of like go through all reflection. Do you then kind of leave that week behind, move on to the next week, or do you reflect back, more retrospectively, so like, the following week, or just to notice the patterns
I
more
think
than
it's to
anything?
notice patterns, but one thing I used to run a membership, and one things I used to always encourage those people to do within that membership, and I do with my clients, is that what can you take from the week? What have you learned? What has it taught you? So, and what do you want to let go of?
Hmm.
What do you want to carry? What can you carry into the following week? So reflect on it, but think about what you've learned this week, what's made you happy this week, and what can you carry into the following week? Because obviously we want to learn to let go. What do we need to drop?
Yeah.
What's really good about that week that you can carry into the next week? Now,
Mm.
I've got journals that are years old, but not everyone wants to keep them. Some people might just want to rip them up and burn them and think, oh,
Yes.
I've learned the lessons from this year.
Yeah.
know, yeah, let them go. It's an individual thing. But I've got some of my journals are really old.
Yeah.
So, but I think if you can be consistent in your reflections, um, then I think you'll just take it on board. You don't
Mm.
always need to keep going back and back and back. But sometimes, like I haven't done it for a while, but I think it was the end of last year, I looked at some journals from the previous year and I just noticed such a change in me.
Yeah.
But in terms of my peace of mind as
Yeah.
well, because I could tell by my writing where my mind was at. And I realized that how much calmer I was and how much I'd
Mm.
slowed my pace down just by reflecting on the previous year. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's so powerful
It's a
to do.
good exercise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So breath work. We're going to get into breath work. And when I had the opportunity to do breath work with you, you introduced it as breath work. And I loved that
Yeah.
shift in, it is work.
Yeah.
It's not sitting around breathing in and breathing out. It is, well, it is, but with intention. So
Yeah.
just, a lot of people are going to be familiar with box breathing.
Sure.
Is it when you breathe in for 6, out for 6, or
Yeah.
6-11, and
Yeah, there's
those
like
kind of,
6-2-6, 4-7-8. Yeah.
yeah.
There's so many different techniques as a
So
help.
can you explain and just put into context the difference between those styles of breath work and what it
Yeah,
is that you
sure.
do?
I mean, I say there's three pillars, and this is just how it helps me understand it. It's not anything scientific really, but there's sort of three pillars for me. The first pillar is how we breathe day to day, so just our functional, optimal breathing in terms of day to day breathing. And we all, some of us are shallow breathers. We breathe up into our chest too much. Some, we use our tummy a little bit more. Some reverse breathe. There's all these different ways that we breathe day to day. And that has an impact on how we think, has an impact on our physical and our mental well-being, just our day-to-day breathing. It's something we do 20 to 25,000 times a day. So it has a big impact. And without breath, we have no life. So that's normal day-to-day breathing, pillar one. Pillar two is the more intermediate stuff like box breathe in, 4-7-8 breathe in, coherent breathe in. There's hundreds of them, thousands probably. And then there's the far end, the third pillar, which is more transformational breathing, like holotropic breath work and conscious connected breath work, which is what I'm certified in. And that's deeply transformational. You can have altered states of consciousness through breathing in that style. You absolutely need to do it with a facilitator, somebody who's qualified. And you can have some deep cathartic experiences, clarity, because it accesses deeper parts of your brain and goes into your subconscious. Your subconscious is absolutely running the show, whether you believe it or not. And it's like the store of all of your files from your whole life that's stored in your subconscious, all the old stuff from your childhood. It's all stored there. And if you imagine you're a computer, every now and again you switch your computer off, switch it back on again, you delete files. Your subconscious is like that. It needs clearing out from time to time. It needs stuff dealing with and clearing out. But often we're just in the driving seat, aren't we? And we don't know, we can't access that. Like, it's very difficult to access that.
Yeah.
So transformational breathing really helps you just your emotional awareness, which is super crucial for high performers and people, for us all really. But our emotional, intelligence is super important. And transformational breathwork massively helps us with that. It helps us with clarity. It helps us clear out stuck emotion, stuck energy. It supports and helps our immune system. All of breath, all of breathing is like our life force. How our spine moves. Our core comes from our breath. Every cell in our body, every fascia, every organ needs oxygenated blood. So oxygen is so crucial to everything. But with the transformational breathing, some people have said it's like therapy, 20 years of therapy in one session. Other people say it was like meditation on steroids. Most people have a sense of bliss, have a sense of clarity and direction. I worked with somebody recently, and they've had probably 15 years of lots of family issues, let's just put it like that. And there was they felt like they had a lot of stuck energy, and they'd done a lot of work to try and move that. An amazing business owner, really big business owner as well, actually. And they came and had one breathwork class, and they said like it just shifted out of their head, and they've been back every week since. So it can be extremely powerful. It's not for everyone. Just like yoga's not for everyone, just like going to the gym isn't for everyone. But it is a incredibly powerful modality it's very experiential. You have to come and experience, because most people struggle to explain what happened during the session, sometimes what they're feeling. I don't know, you came along as well, so I don't know I can't remember how you described it now, but a lot of people do struggle to explain what happened.
I've done it 3 times in total, this kind of breath work. And the first time I was just blown away in the way that I found it a little bit scary, to be honest. I found it a little bit scary, but that's kind of the way I approach most things anyway, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, isn't it?
So, absolutely.
It takes me about 10 minutes to get into the sea, because it's like I'll just put my toe in, then I'll put my foot in. then I put a little bit more in until I'm totally submerged and like, oh, okay, I'm still alive, it's fine.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm the same.
that's kind of like how I approach most things anyway. So I think my first experience with it was a little bit of a test for me,
Mhm.
just to
Yeah.
see how far I could
I think that's very
go with
common.
it.
Very common.
The second time I thought, okay, well, I didn't die last time. So let's go. And I gave myself up to it the second time, and that was I'd I felt more relaxed than I'd felt for 20 years, I'd have to say, after
Brilliant.
I did it.
Yeah,
And
this is what you hear.
yeah. And then the third time I kind of knew what I was in for.
Mm.
And that was when we did it together. And afterwards I felt incredible.
Yeah.
I felt like I felt bliss, I felt calm, I felt energized, I felt it
Mm.
was everything rolled into one, and I felt a huge sense of having released stuff that I didn't need to have
Yeah.
inside me that I'd been carrying around for probably a long time, like years even. At the
Mm.
same time, I would say, and I don't know if this is, you tell me, you're the expert. I didn't have an awareness of what that stuff was
I was
that
just
I'd
about to say
released.
that. You don't
I
you don't
just knew
have
that it
to
was
know what it
gone.
is. Yeah, you don't have to know. Sometimes people,
No,
a lot of people come to breath work because they want change, they want to feel something different. We don't always have to know what that thing is. Yes, some people come and they're going through a divorce, they've got a
yeah,
family member who's seriously ill, all sorts of reasons, struggling at work, whatever. But you don't always have to know. And sometimes you might leave a bit like you, knowing, okay, I feel so much better. I didn't know
yeah,
what it was. I still don't know what's left, but I know I feel better.
yeah.
And that again is yeah, that's perfectly normal.
Mm,
It's something, yeah, it's incredibly difficult. Even for me, when I first did it, it's incredibly difficult for me
yeah,
to describe. But I mean, I went for a specific reason. I found it because I had a lot of grief, a lot of losses, my marriage, my dog, and my dad, and that's why I went. But you don't have, now I obviously still do breath work. I do very different types of breath work now, all sorts of breath work.
mm,
It doesn't always have to be the deep stuff. But you don't always have to know what it is. You just have to know that you have to trust. And the first time is really about you're putting your body under a little bit of tension,
yeah,
something very new. And what I think I'm really good at, and I get lots of, and somebody said this to me this week, is like supporting people through that process, especially
yes,
if it's
yeah,
their
yeah,
first time, because I always encourage people to come back for a second time. Not because, it's not about me wanting your money or whatever. It's because you will trust yourself at a higher level
yeah,
because you've
yeah.
done it once. Yes, it might have been uncomfortable, but you felt something shift.
Mm,
Imagine if I had a young man come the other week, Sam, his name was, and he said, I felt like I was holding back. He said, so I can't wait to come next week because I know that I
yeah,
can trust myself a bit further.
yes.
That's it.
Yeah, it's creating that safe space, that safe environment where people,
Yeah.
because it is very emotional.
Yeah.
It really
It
is.
can be, some people laugh, it shakes up. Again, we go to the three elements that I speak about mojo. It's mental, physical, and emotional. Again, sideline of spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. These are three areas that breath work impacts. And again, it can you can laugh, you can feel anger, you can shake that anger out, you can tone that anger out. And the breath will find it, and because it's all stored in the subconscious and the
Mm,
deepest parts of our brain, it will find it through your breath without speaking, without having to, go through 101 counseling sessions. And there's nothing wrong with counseling therapy. I
no,
found
no.
it and I have it myself. But it can help you just go through that in a very different way and just shake things up. And sometimes people laugh, sometimes people cry, some people make sounds. It just comes out. And I always encourage people to just let come up how it wants to come out. And because
Mm,
there's so much in life where we're repressing stuff, we're living with higher levels of cortisol. Breathwork's amazing for stress. And I work with high performers, but also athletes, because you deal with a lot of stressful situations.
mm,
So in those moments, I'm not teaching them to do conscious connected breath work. I'm giving them tools to get out of the red thinking brain into the blue thinking brain. So red is like intense and we've got all of this going on and it's pressure. Blue is calm, intentional, and you can do that in the moment in sport by changing your breathing. And if you can, and therefore we can take a lot from that, because as high performers or whoever we are, if we know we're going into a boardroom or into a meeting with a family member or our partner, we can change our state by
Yeah.
using our breath and channeling into our nervous system. So we can use it day to day as well. So I use many other techniques as well to help people, like in business and corporate leaders and people like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful because it's just there. Like, we don't have to go and find it. We don't have to carry it around with us.
You just have to figure out how, find someone like me, or,
Yeah.
go on YouTube and, find a way to, tap into it. It's the most underutilized resource that we have that can literally transform your life. It transformed my life.
Yeah.
And people are catching on to it more now, which is amazing. I've had some great corporations reach out to me recently, wanting their high performers to, me to go along and introduce it to their high performers,
Yeah.
to help them manage stressful situations at work. And that's really pleasing for me to see, because I massively believe in the power of it.
Yeah, and whatever happens, and it's fantastic if workplaces are recognising that is needed. But whatever happens in that environment goes home as well. So, if you create a positive environment around that, or help people to manage the stressful situations that they're coming across in their day-to-day lives at work, then that's going to ripple out and flow into their home life and every other aspect of their life as well.
Absolutely. These things, look, everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected, and I massively believe that. So, and I, when I'm talking to corporations, one of the things I say to them is that you're not just helping your staff at work, you're helping them at home as well. And business is personal, as we know, and your whole self goes to work. So you're equipping your staff not only in the, intense environment of the job they're in, and that's just the nature of some jobs, right? But you're actually going to equip them a tool that they can use at home. That means they're better at home, but they're actually more prepared before they even get to work.
Yeah, and I think businesses are certainly starting to see the value in that. But when you look at it, if I talk about it from a brand perspective, like creating a positive, healthy culture, where people feel good about coming to work, and they have meaning and purpose in their workplace, and they feel like it's a safe place for them to be and to progress and to grow, then you're going to save so much money in the future. Going off sick for 6 months and having to support that. Attrition is a huge problem for many businesses. So, catch it before it even happens.
Absolutely.
Create an environment where people actually want to come to work and be part of what it is that you're doing. And you can avoid all of that. And it's very costly in the long term.
Oh, yeah, massively. Personal development is, this is how you avoid some of this, because, like we were talking about before about costs. Everyone thinks about the costs of new equipment and all of this thing, but you're not looking at the costs. You're looking at it in all the wrong way. Your greatest asset is the individuals. Creating an environment for them to thrive in, creating an environment where they can be open and share vulnerably, giving them like I say, breath work and my life and breath stuff, where it all, coaching and breathwork, goes hand in hand, supports them out of work as well as into work. So like I said, when they're coming into a day, or you've got a project on the way that's that we know is going to take a lot of hours and a lot of input, equipping them before they get into the office, so they're not just bringing this anxious, nervous self to the office before they even get started. And being truly committed to it. I've had a few places reach out and they get, can you come and do intro to breath work? But obviously I'm like, that's great, I can do that, but what's your longer term commitment to this? Is this a tick box? Is this we're just going to do this because it's wellness month or wellness? Like, how committed are you genuinely to your individual staff members, to equipping them for the longer term,
Mm.
rather than, well, this is what we're doing this month. This is, do you know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
I'm really more interested in that they've got a commitment to it, rather than, well, this is just what we're doing this month. So yeah, and eventually they won't need me, and like, I'll come in, maybe do 6 sessions for the corporation, and then they, the staff, everybody, every member of staff should be able to access this for themselves.
Mm.
Every now and again, yeah, you have a guy, like I went into a corporation, I think it was July, because there was a big thing that happened at work. It was a lot of friction, and the group collectively were feeling that, and they were
Yeah.
feeling a lot of loss. So they asked me to go in and just do some work with them, specifically around the losses that everyone was experiencing, because it was
Mm.
impacting performance, it was impacting morale,
Yeah.
and which was great, because I'd done some work with them before, and they recognized that actually we need a little bit more right now.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
all feeling this, and we don't know how to let it go as
Yeah.
a team, as an organization.
Yeah, and good for them for actually recognizing that and acting on it and saying, we're going to do something about that because we really care about the people that are here and we want to invest in them. And what does that say about a brand
It
and
was
a
amazing.
business? It's like, it's the brands that, if you get it all right internally, where people are happy, you create a positive culture, people miss the fact, or business owners miss the fact, that the people that they have in their environment working for them are their biggest advocates.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're going to go out and talk about, look, this place is absolutely amazing place to work. I always feel supported. My growth is front and foremost. So they want me to flourish. And then they're going to talk about, but then people think, well, okay, I A, like to work there, or B, I want to buy into that brand. What do I do to get involved?
It comes back to that flow, like you're talking about. For them, the flow within the organization was very off kilter. There was a lot of friction, and so I did sort of life and breath, but we started with the breath, so that, like, because not everybody wanted to talk, we didn't feel like they could talk, but there clearly was a lot of negative energy around the whole team, so we just all did breath work together. So we did do a deeply transformational breath work session, which was great, and for those that wanted it could then go on and have some some of the intermediate breath work, but we could also have a coaching session. So pretty much everyone sort of, they encouraged everyone to come to the transformational session, which is, I set this out for them, bespoke for them, for what they're looking through, and then it was optional for them to do a little bit more lighter breath work, and also to do the coaching. And it worked really well, because like I say, not everyone wants to talk, but you can come and lie on the floor and breathe for a bit.
Yeah, and exactly. And like we said, like, you process stuff through the subconscious that may have been there for a very, very long time. You're not actually sure all the time what you're processing. Sometimes you might be. I mean, one time when I did the breath work, I was very, very clear about what was being processed, and I knew it perfectly well. The third time when I did it with you, I was processing a lot. I'm not quite sure what it was, and I don't really care what it was. I just know that whatever it was has gone now.
Brilliant.
So and it doesn't matter, does it? So the benefit is there whether you recognize it or not at the moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I could talk about breath work all day. So
yes, definitely. So let's talk about. I'm going to drop some links into the comments for people to reach out for you if they want to. So, like, the different ways of working with you. Obviously, you said that you go into businesses. You also do one-to-one, and you've got a couple of retreats coming up as well.
Yeah, obviously I do those things that you mentioned. Yeah, I do a thing called the Life and Breath Reset Day. So it's one of the guys that came, he said it's like a recalibration day, and I love that. That's how he felt like at the end of the day when he went. It's like, I felt like I've recalibrated everything. And it's a day in a beautiful setting in Seaford in East Sussex. It's at Florence House. Amazing settings right by the Sussex Downs, 3 minutes from the beach. And we do some of the intermediate breathing in the yurt. We do a transformational breathwork session in a beautiful space that overlooks the Sussex Downs, and we do some powerful coaching with intention. So it's just a beautiful day just to come and put your phone down for a bit, and just we do a little bit of mapping. We kind of look at where you are now, the state of play, the challenges you have, what you'd ideally like to change, and then we breathe around that. We breathe very intentionally. Now, that doesn't always mean, as you know, that when you lie down on the mat and you do the breath work, that you're going to have all the answers at the end of it.
No.
More something you were completely unaware of might have come through.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do on that day. And we have a beautiful lunch. We go for a little walk in nature. It's just a really nice day. And generally, you know, the things that people come away with is clarity and direction and calmness. A bit like what you said, that sense of calm,
Yeah.
sense of ease, better clarity and direction on where you're going and what needs to be done. And we try and get some action steps built into it as well at the end of the day. And we talk about, you know, what came up and came through on the breath work. So that's the reset day. And that's on the 14th of November. There's some spaces left for that. And then I'm running a 2-day retreat because a few people have said who've done the reset day, they would want something longer.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it at the same venue, January 24th for 2 nights. So we turn up Friday, late on a Friday, and we have the whole weekend. You leave on the late on the Sunday. So we have 2 days, similar kind of stuff, but we just got a little bit more time for nourishment. You can also get yourself a little massage, chair massage on that day. So you don't have to take your clothes off. You just get massaged in the chair, which is beautiful. And it's just, yeah, a deeply, you know, beautiful time together. Really, you know, diving deep into your self-awareness, creating that awareness about where you're at and what it is that you truly want and need. And just giving yourself a little bit more space.
A gift to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what would be your advice to people who are feeling a little bit out of flow, to kind of work around that and get themselves back into flow?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with you, as I said. It starts with you, you know, and it's about body, mind, and spirit being aligned. And that's where you've got, if you want to feel whole and connected, and that's how things will flow, right? Because often we think, oh, you know, I don't feel quite right in my body, so I look externally. But you have to look internally. And the same with your mind. It's easy to blame other things and other causes, but you have to get there in yourself. So you have to come back to yourself. You have to come back to your gut and to your intuition and your own self-awareness. Now, I'm obviously going to say breath work because this is what aligns you, in my opinion, because of just what I've experienced myself and so many other people. But you have to start with yourself. If you're not feeling flow and you're feeling, one of the things that one of the girls came to the Life and Breath Reset Day, she messaged me about a week later and she said, I feel so much more connected to myself, but not only that, to the world around me. That is incredibly powerful when you think about that, because that helps us flow.
Yes.
Right? If we're flowing internally, then we'll flow better externally and with the things that are around us. So that was coming and spending the whole day. So come back to yourself. Start to journal what's really going on with yourself, honestly, you know, and try and do it, you know, consistently. Most importantly, reflect on it. Reflect on how you're truly feeling and ask yourself what you need. And is it possible to adjust something and give yourself what you need once you've really answered yourself truthfully? Even if you think it's not possible to give yourself what you need, still write it down, still reflect on that. And then business of going about creating that is ask, who can I ask for help, for support? You know, how many decisions do I have to make less of? Because decisions just fill our mind. We're making choices constantly every day. And ask it, because so many people want to help. So even if you like, I recognize this is an area for me that I need some support with, or I need to change, but I can't do it. So don't push it to one side. Speak to somebody about it. This is how you're going to get back in flow. Try and just go online, look up some calming breath work. Just get into 2 or 3 minutes at the bookend your day, when you wake up and when you go to sleep. This gets you into the middle bit of your nervous system. It gets you out a bit, like out of the red zone and out of the blue zone into the purple zone. Like just kind of aligning things. Breath gets into your core, it gets into your spine. What comes off of our spine? All of our nerves, our nervous system. So that will just get you into alignment. Just a small little breathwork practice at either end of the day. These are some things that you can use to help you get back in alignment, mind, body, and spirit, which then means you flow better. Everything around you flows better and you feel more connected to it.
I love that, starting the day with something as well, because, like, you know, if you're getting up and already in a tense, stressed day, how are you gonna finish the day? It's only gonna get worse, isn't it, really?
One of the simpler, just to give people a really simple breathwork technique to do. When you wake, as soon as you wake up, you place your hands on your lower rib cage and breathe in through your nose through the count of 5. So a slow count of 5, like second counts, and then exhale for the count of 5, and feel your lower rib cage expand, because that means you're working your diaphragm and you're waking things up there. You know, your diaphragm is a muscle, it needs to be strengthened. So just breathe in for the count of 5 and breathe out for the count of 5. You don't, and just gently, it's just a gentle 5 in and a gentle 5 out, and do that for 2 minutes at either end of the day. That's called resonance or coherent breathing. It gets your breathing aligned with your heart rate. It taps into the calming side of your nervous system, the parasympathetic side. Bookend your day like that. I've just got one of my clients just started doing it about a week now, and they said, "Oh my God, that is just so beautiful to start and end my day like that."
Yeah. So it's nasal breathing.
Yeah, you can use your nose in and out, or you can use your mouth to breathe out if you want. Just do what feels comfortable with that one. It doesn't matter. It's just about the pace, having an even pace of in and an even pace of out. If you Google or go on YouTube, you can Google coherent breath chimes.
Yeah.
You can get a chime sound. So it chimes for 5. When the chime changes tone, you exhale. So you haven't got to count. You've just got to listen to the chimes.
Oh, okay.
And that also helps to deeply relax you as well.
Oh, I love that. Definitely.
It is lovely. I love it. I've been doing it myself for the last few weeks. I try all different ones, and I have different ones for different scenarios.
Yes.
But that one's probably one that I'm doing myself mostly at the moment, first thing in the morning, last thing at night.
Yeah, I'm going to build that in. I'm going to have another go at the journaling, and I will come back to you and let you know.
Yeah, let me know how you get. Even put your shopping list in it.
Oh God, we'll be there for a while. Oh, brilliant, Sam! I love this conversation so much. I could go on for hours. It's been so good. Thank you for joining me today.
I appreciate you asking me.
All the links will be in the comments for anybody who wants to contact Sam or find out more about the work. It's amazing work.